to send us your thoughts. We'd love to have them. I want to get immediately to our next guest because I am so excited to talk to Trace Gallagher. I know I'm probably, Trace, supposed to talk to you about the news and stuff, but can we just talk about your book? I want to just talk about your book.
We can talk about news, the book, Annie, whatever you want to talk about. We're good to go. There's a lot to talk about, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I want to get to the news first. We'll get that out of the way because your book, you talk about, it's called "Turns Out They Were Right All Along," and you talk about going to see John Wooden, and John Wooden's book, A Lifetime of Observations and Reflections on and Off the Court. I had a coach give that to me in 7th grade, so I relate to the story that you're going to. So hold on, and we'll get to that here in just a second. But you had President Trump. You had a great interview with him last week, and one of the things that you were discussing with him, of course, is what's going on in Iran. What was your takeaway, just your vibe, sitting there with the president about the handle, like the 10-2, I've got control of this situation that the president has on these negotiations?
I think he's just tired of it. I mean, you can tell when you look at him and you talk to him about this, it's like Groundhog Day, is that Iran comes out and they say, okay, we want a deal, and then they break the deal. Or, somebody leaks that the IRGC is looking for a deal, they're looking for this, and then they violate it right away. And so he's frustrated. And I think that, basically what you're going to see happen is that I think this ceasefire is probably going to hold for a while, and they're just going to wait and see what Iran does. I think the thing that he thinks the big power move for the United States right now is to just keep taking the money away from Iran. I mean, their economy right now is a disaster. Inflation's at 75, 77%. The oil money is gone. And so this blockade is doing great damage. Now, you hear Iran tell it, they think everything's great. Oh, no, we're great. Oh, the economy's great. But you look and you talk to the people inside Iran, and things are bad, and things are going to get worse. And I think the president feels like that's one of the things, because Iran, their key point right now is, whether or not they're going to open the Strait of Hormuz. One day they say they will. The next day they say they're not going to. They're going to charge tolls. They're going to do this. But all the while, even if the strait is sort of kind of open and sort of closed, the price of oil is still pretty solid, right?
Yeah.
The price of oil is still, it's lower than it was, a lot lower than it was a couple of months ago. And so, the president would like to see the gas prices come down to that. But I think what he's willing to do is kind of he's willing to put some time into this and to see how the economy in Iran is looking over the next 3-4 weeks or a month. And I think that's the key play right now for the United States, is the Iranian economy.
We're speaking with Trace Gallagher, chief breaking news correspondent, and of course, anchor of Fox News at night. An incredible show in the evening. I love catching up on the day, watching your show each evening, Trace. I wonder if your experience with the president, I felt like at the beginning of this, the decision to denuclearize Iran, the president had a very clear understanding of what the goal of the mission was. And I think that he knew that there would maybe be some political collateral damage in the current moment while that was happening. And I'm wondering what your take was on his current mood with how it's playing politically, especially going into a midterm.
Well, he knows that, he knows that he sees the numbers. He knows that it's not popular, but he also, what's happening is you see the Iranian government is parroting a lot of what the mainstream media is talking about here. So the Iranian government is taking things that you hear Chuck Schumer say, and they're sending out tweets basically saying the very same thing. And so, they're using this as a way to say, well, see, people in America are not happy about this. But the truth is you look at some of these polling and you see when last week Scott Besson says the Strait of Hormuz is going to open. I mean, nothing about nuclear weapons, nothing about anything except the Strait's going to open and the market goes to record highs. And all of a sudden the polling starts to increase. And so the president also knows that whatever the feeling is right now, that it's ephemeral. And if something good happens, if there's a good outcome, if there's a good decision, if the Strait of Hormuz opens and they can work some way to make sure that Iran cannot get to that uranium under those mountains, I think you're going to see, I think he believes you're going to see the perception of this whole war change. You're going to see, a brighter future for the polling on this topic, but it's coupled with, the economy. And right now, people are frustrated because they believe that in this country, it's kind of tied hand in hand. They were expecting prices to go down, so there's some frustration on that. And right now, I think what's happening is that, the Iran war, part and parcel of the bigger picture, is the fact that the economy, they don't see prices coming down as fast as they should or as fast as they believe. And so it's this double-edged frustration that you see in the polling, and the president understands that, and he thinks that, over the next couple of months, that you're going to see prices come down, you're going to see the markets go up, and you're going to see things in Iran work themselves out.
I think one of the under-talked about, discussed stories of what the president has been doing, especially with gas prices, is, the reports that he's put pressure on these oil companies to get in line to lower these prices. I can think of a lot of the pressure that was like the bully pulpit that was the prior administration was on how Americans were allowed to think and what they were allowed to say. We do see this current administration and President Trump using his bully pulpit towards these companies to say, you need to do right by the American people, get the gas prices in line. That to me, I see that as in defense of the American people in this moment. Not big companies.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I brought it up to him. I said, we were doing the numbers, and when I interviewed him, last Tuesday, I was looking at oil prices, and then on that day they were, I think they were at $74 a barrel. So the prices of oil when the war started was $67 a barrel. So the price of oil was about 9-10% higher than it was before the Iran war, and yet the price of gas was 33% higher. And so you can see the president is frustrated. You have the price of oil is at 9-10% higher. The price of gas should be 9-10% higher. It should be just a little bit, but instead, in a lot of places, 30%. In California, it's 42% higher just because it's California and they tax every gallon, $1.67. So it's a different scenario in different states, but across the board, he's frustrated because he sees the price of oil and the price of gas are not tracking.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating, and he sees, the profits are public, he sees the oil companies making a bunch of money. Profits are way up, and, his point is, listen, bring the gas prices down. Let's get these things down, give Americans a break. Everybody wants everybody to make money, but you're making huge amounts of money, and people are paying huge amounts for gas, and when the price of oil is somewhat stabilized, the price of gas should follow suit.
Yeah, it just flies in the narrative of his opposition who say that all he cares about is his big his buddies and big business and big oil and all that stuff. Like that's not really what's happening right here.
No.
We're speaking with Trace Gallagher, chief breaking news correspondent, anchor of Fox News at Night, also author of the book Turns Out They Were Right All Along. Trace, I'm just reading like the summary here that they're sending out. You've done some things in your life that are pretty impressive, including, I don't know how many people tuning into your evening news show know that you were were you a professional water skier?
I was a professional show skier. It's one of those things where they're like, what don't you know about somebody? What would surprise you?
There it is.
That is something that surprises a lot of people. Yeah, I was a professional show skier for 5 years, and it means that I was in places like, Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey and SeaWorld in Orlando and Marine World in California, where you'd put on these water ski shows where we'd go out and we would do, barefooting and barefoot water skiing and front flips and back flip, all these goofy things, the big pyramids. And that's what I did for 5 years. It kind of got me through college. It got me through a lot of things. And it's a part of the book because it was so fascinating. Because, of the people I was with and the things that I did. And, a lot of the book is, stories, because the truth is, listen, everything I've learned, everything we all learn, and we learn from somebody else. It's because somebody else told us that. You were talking about John Wooden earlier.
Yes.
And we brought John Wooden in the book because, I went to a small high school. I came out of San Diego, and I was 12 years old. We decided to move. Me and my parents and my brothers and sisters had all graduated high school. We moved to a small town called Mammoth Lakes, California. Mammoth Mountain is a big ski area, well-known ski area in the country. And we moved up there, and when you go to a small high school, you have to play 3 sports. I played football and baseball as a kid in San Diego, and I needed to play basketball in high school, but I was terrible at basketball. So I thought if I can go to the Wooden camp, I'm going to be great. And John Wooden and then, we're talking about the late 70s, then John Wooden had just won 10 championships in 12 years. Never been repeated. So I'm thinking I got to go to the Wooden basketball camp, right? But it was $500. So you get the money together, you work, you do it, you get to the Wooden camp, and you're down in Southern California, and first day out walks John Wooden. And you think, man, oh man, every kid in the gym, their jaw dropped. And John Wooden goes up to the microphone, and he taps it, and he says, boys, I want you to sit down and take off your shoes and socks. You should have 2 pairs of socks. And then he says, take the first pair and put them on inside out. You take that second pair and you put them on the right way. You tie your shoes up nice and tight. He says, if you do that, you will never have blisters. You cannot play basketball with blisters. And then John Wooden turned and walked off, and we never saw him again. True story.
What about my jump shot, Coach?
Oh, there goes $500. I'm thinking that was $5. But the truth is, he's a fundamentals guy, right? It was all about fundamentals. The book is about the fundamentals. It's about the basic lessons that you sometimes dismiss are valuable. And John Wooden, when you go in and his pyramid of success and the things that he preached his whole are still valid today. And that's kind of, it's, there's 32 stories of this book. And there's a reason it's 32 because 3 + 2 = 5. And, the old joke is I'm not, superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. And there's a big thing with numbers and and so the whole book is about, these peccadillos, the things that people go through, the things that, you learn through life. And they're my stories and they're the people I've met, but everybody can relate to these because everybody has the same types of stories. Yeah. So it's a fun read, and I highly recommend it. Of course I do. I'm very biased over this book.
You absolutely should. We're talking with Trace Gallagher about his book, Turns Out They Were Right All Along. I assume pre-orders are open right now, comes out in September. Is that correct?
Yeah, it drops September 15th. It is for pre-sale right now. You can just go to tracegallagherbook.com, and it will take you to everything from Target to Barnes & Noble to Amazon. Awesome. You can do whatever you want to pre-sale. But, yeah, I think the book is it's a fun read. It's a super fun read. It's not political. It's just, it's just a bunch of life stories.
Yeah, I think that's a fun way for of course the people who watch you on Fox News to get to know you a little bit better, but also you're a very successful person. Was being a news anchor, was that always the dream? When did it become the dream?
No, I mean I wanted to be a high school football coach. I played football in college, and I wanted to be a high school football coach. And when I was water skiing, I got hurt. I hurt my knee, and they said, well, there's 2 things you can do. You can either be the pickup boat driver and pick up all the skis, or you can announce the ski shows. So I started announcing ski shows, and I announced fashion shows, and I went back and took some journalism classes, and I literally got an internship. The next thing I knew, I was working in Yuma, Arizona for $11,000 a year.
All because of a knee injury.
All because of a knee injury, because it just put me on a different path. So you never know. You never know what's going to happen. And then I went from Yuma to Boise, Idaho, to Las Vegas, to Orlando, to Chicago, to San Francisco, the whole routine. And here I am. I've been at Fox now 30 years. 30-year anniversary of Fox is October 7th, and I've been there all 30 years.
Well, that's incredible, Trace. And I'm looking forward to checking this out and learning from your stories and going through the bobbing and weaving to understand that you get a knee injury, you can sit there and sulk about it, but there's another opportunity on the other side of it. And it seems as though you've experienced quite a lot of those. We're excited to learn more once this book comes out in September.
Thank you, Annie. I very much appreciate it. Very much appreciate it.
We'll look forward to having you back again soon, Trace.
Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.